Hello, welcome back everybody to Alcoholics Unanimous. This is the second episode. My name is Josh and I'm an alcoholic. Thanks for tuning back in. Had a lot of fun with the first one, sent that one out a couple days ago, and got a lot of cool feedback from everybody. It seemed like people were picking up the vibe I kind of wanted to put out with this thing, which was just kind of tapping into my stream of consciousness and kind of just speaking out my truth. So that was cool to get that feedback without really having to preface that with anything. I just sent it out and got that back. So that's super cool. I haven't listened to the episode myself, so I don't really know how it went. You know, I recorded it, so I have that, but I don't remember specifics from it. And you know, by design, I don't want to watch them yet. I just want to kind of get into into tune with my talking, get used to this before I even start critiquing it, because I don't really, this is my first time doing this, so it's just kind of a trial run for this. But at the same time, this is very serious to me, so I do want to, over time, get this thing really dialed in. So, but yeah, it's a work in progress, as we all are, always. Left off the last episode kind of just talking about my first couple of days, I guess, when I got to rehab. I went through the what is it called? The intake day, where they do your blood and all that stuff. Basically got to that spot that first day, wanted to run away, but didn't, checked my impulse there. One thing I do remember is seeing like the different waves of people that were kind of there. There's, the first phase people, which were like me, just new people that were a couple, hours sober, hours clean. And then there was the second wave people you could see were a little bit better off mentally, physically, look a little better. But you could still see that they were going through stuff. And then they had like the phase 3 and 4, which were like, oh my God, those guys have been sober for 4 weeks. What? Man, that seems crazy. So those kind of things were weird to see at first, because I was like, oh, what the I didn't know what was going on. And so you're just looking at seeing these different kind of waves of people. I guess, it was cool, because it did give me that, like, well, these people seem pretty okay, but they're still here. Like, so it gave me, I don't know, it was like weird hope. I don't know what it was, but, first you kind of go through your orientation. There's about 3 or 4 other people in there with you, kind of in the same boat, same thing. You're just sitting there waiting for somebody to come in and just explain to you what's going to happen for the next few weeks. If you choose to go through with it, because it is, again, all voluntarily, done. So you don't have to be there at all. But, if you're court ordered, you don't go, you go to jail. If you're work ordered, you don't go, you lose your job. If you're self-ordered, it's on you, which is usually best success stories are from that. Excuse me. But yeah, you're sitting in this room. We had our first counselor come in and kind of just break down what this place was, what it was designed to do. And in short, it was a place where people who had chemical dependencies went and basically explored why they decided to go down that path, why they couldn't stop going down that path, and figure out a plan moving forward. That's really the 3 things that you're there for. Figure out, realizing why you're there. Is the huge step, but then figuring out a plan going forward, because you can't stay in that little sanctuary for that long. Otherwise, you're gonna get too soft, and you're not gonna be able to jump back into the real world. So yeah, that was definitely was definitely portrayed from the beginning, which is cool, because you don't know really what's going on. You don't even want to accept like that you're there, let alone listen to somebody tell you that you're going to get better. So it's just a weird spot. So you're just kind of sitting there. But yeah, you go through the orientation, and they let you know what classes you're going to go to. They kind of just throw you into the group for the first day, and it's pretty crazy. Yeah, it was the phase 1 group, which for my CDRP program, it was a 7-day phase. So if you went 7 days completely clean and sober, and showed that you were actually making some progress, then the counselors would get together, decide if they thought you were ready to move to phase 2, and then they would ask you, actually, they said, so what do you think about moving to phase 2? And, from there. But regardless, they send you into the first day, first group, and there's probably about 10, 12, 15 people in this first group. Some of them are new, like those people with the orientation that I was in with. Some of them have been there for a day or two. Some of them are about to leave, and that's their last day. So you're getting a whole mix of people kind of coming through a whole bunch of different paths kind of crossing in this 7-day period. But yeah, I mean, it was really kind of cool. You just you get thrown into the class, and then they basically kind of break it down for you that way. Hey, this is going to be your new home here for the next few weeks. So get to know everybody. Be nice, respectful. Here are the rules. Just do your best to follow those. Do your best to respect everybody. Respect their stories, their time, their anonymity, all of that stuff there. It's legal stuff, but it's just like, come on, don't be a dick. But so they you get thrown in, and really you just kind of have to go over yourself. You introduce yourself. You say, "Hi, my name's Josh." You go through your drug of choice. So a lot of people, were in there for multiple kind of addictions. But some people were just alcoholics. Some people were just addicted to coke. Some people were coming off like meth things, and so there's all kinds of different people in this room. And you're getting all kinds of different levels of mental clarity, because like me, I was medically detoxing with the Librium. Luckily, the Librium doesn't do anything to your brain, or I guess your consciousness. You can still talk. You're still there. It's just your body thinks it's been given alcohol, so you feel okay. But the weird thing about it is there's some people that are coming off of maybe a benzo addiction, or something a little bit crazier, where they have to take maybe like Valium or something to come off of it because they're too wired. And so those people, the first 2 or 3 days you meet them, it's like you're talking to a zombie, because they're like, hey, like, and then after they kind of detox and get there's things out of the system, they're a person again, and you could start talking to them. And it's funny, the ones that are like legit trying to get better are kind of like, whoa, like, man, I was coming off of some weird stuff the other day. So it was just a weird experience, man. But yeah, so you get all kinds of different levels of really consciousness, health, mental health, emotional health, specifically that one. Mental or emotional health everyone was pretty much broken. So that was, you can imagine how that would go. But so you go around, you say, Josh, drug of choice was alcohol, but you kind of say everything. So if you're smoking weed, you'd say that. If you were using coke, you'd say that. But you just go through your drugs of choice, and then you would say how many days you have been clean and sober. then you would say how many days you've been in that current group. So 3 days sober, 4 days in the group, or 4 days sober, 3 days in the group. And then the next thing they would ask is, how many self-help meetings have you been to this week? I think they asked, how many have you been in this week? And a self-help meeting is basically it's like AA. AA is a self-help meeting. There's different kinds of recovery things out there. There's like smart recovery, which is like the science recovery kind of mentality. It's like taking it from a very scientific standpoint where, chemical A goes, or you go into, enters your system. You go through the A phase where you're up, and then you go through the B phase where you go down. So you have to, you learn about like the actual science of what's happening while you're putting these chemicals into your brain, which is super cool. Not super helpful for dealing with emotional things, but it is kind of cool to know what you're going through physically, so that you can maybe it can give you an angle to help you emotionally, when you are going through your recovery. So anyways, AA is a self-help meeting. That smart recovery is a self-help type of meeting. There's one called Dharma recovery, which is basically, it's like a meditation-based Buddhist type of style, which is cool. And to be honest, I think there's some controversy around that. I don't want to speak on that. I don't know, but all I know is there's some good versions of it, and you can meditate, and it helps to kind of go over those little mantras. And what you do is you just kind of tell yourself like, I don't need alcohol. I don't need alcohol. You do these little things over and over again, and as silly as it sounds, you're kind of reprogramming your brain, because a lot of times when you're just totally strung out or, wired, your brain tells you these bad things over and over and over and over and over again. So what you're doing is you're training your brain to kind of tell you those, or to tell you a different thing when it goes into that spiral mode. So instead of spiraling down, you have potentially can spiral up, and it's a really cool way to do that too. So that one kind of deals with like the metaphysical of it, whereas smart recovery is like the direct chemical response, A plus B equals C. With Dharma or meditation recovery, it's totally not that. It's very open. There's not really a end goal besides maybe trying to reprogram some of these traits that you've developed in your addiction. And so, that's one style. And then there's kind of some other groups out there. There's people that kind of have their own custom ones. They have music-based ones. They have exercise-based ones. There's a super cool app. It's called Meeting Guide, MEETING GUIDE, and it's free. It's on the App Store and Google Play. But basically, you download it. It just geolocates you, and it'll show you all the meetings that are around you. So it's super cool. You get to see the closest ones first, what times, and basically, it shows them which is the closest one starting next. So it'll show you all those, and then it categorizes them, because there is a lot of when you're dealing with this, AA and stuff, and it's a lot of comfortability. If people don't feel comfortable, they're not going to be able to open up and talk. So there's very specific meetings for certain subgroups of people that want to kind of identify with that group, and it's super awesome that we have that. It's super cool. I didn't go to anything specific. I just kind of went to the general all ages meeting. It's kind of just everyone's invited. They'll have like the young people meeting. They have a men's meetings. They have women's meetings. They have Al-Anon is basically people that know people who are suffering with addiction go to those meetings and talk about it. So there's tons of different tons of different meetings out there, and yeah, you can explore them. If you are, wanting to check out one of these things, it's super awesome. They're super chill. Everyone there is very nice. They will be able to tell that you're new, so be prepared to talk. At the end, they're not going to force you to talk during the meeting if you're not comfortable with that. But if you do stick around, if you're smoking cigarettes out there with the group, someone's going to talk to you because they can tell that you're new. So be prepared for that. But also, if you want to, check that out. There's a ton of different meetings on there. So anyways, that was a long roundabout. But when we introduced ourselves at the rehab center, we went through that checklist every single day. You would go over that every single day you checked in. Almost every class that you would check in. So we'd be there for 7-8 hours a day, and we'd go in 4 or 5 classes. You do that every class, every single day. So you really got into this mentality of checking yourself, checking your inventory mentally, emotionally. You really get a sense of you get a really good sample size when you're paying attention to it that many times a day, which is something that's stuck with me, and I do that constantly now. Is just really check how I'm feeling. Learned how to sit in a feeling. If I feel upset, I sit in it. I don't push it away. I don't bury it down. I can sit in it and feel that. Feel the root. Where's the bottom of this, right? It's like when you're lost in anger or overwhelm, it's like you dove too deep in the ocean and you don't know which way's up, right? But if you take a breath or let some air out, you'll be able to see which way's up, swim to the surface. You would check in every single day doing all that. So you'd really be able to get a grasp on which way was up and which way was not where you wanted to go. So, you really got in tune with yourself. And so that is hugely helpful. I think as just a person in general, I think it's important to do that, because how would you know how you really truly feel unless you are consciously thinking about it really all the time? It's an active thing. You're not going to be able to get to a point of serenity, stay there. No, serenity is not that. Serenity is being able to take in those problems, those situations, those issues, and deal with them in a healthy manner. Does it mean it's going to be easy, or does it mean that you asked for that? No, but you can learn to power through things. There's basically with life, I learned it's you just have the situation at hand and your decision. That's all there is to life. It's the situation at hand and what you do with that situation. And so, you really kind of learn what you feel like, and you kind of get to a place, you start developing a baseline. Okay, I'm feeling this. I notice when somebody mentions this, I get upset. I notice when somebody mentions this, I feel happy. So you start seeing these positives and negatives, and so often we're focusing on what brings me down, what makes me feel bad, and get rid of that. But a lot of times, I think what's missed is we don't focus on the things that give us happiness and positivity, and we don't lean into that as much. Instead of running away from the bad things or the things that give you those negative feelings, lean into the things that give you joy, that give you happiness, because then that makes the bad things seem more distant, not as real to you, more of come on, I could deal with that kind of vibe. And that was really truly accomplished through that checking every single day, all day long. They ingrained that to you in the beginning. It's just check in with yourself. And it's crazy. the amount of growth you can do by just paying attention to yourself and checking in on what you feel and how you feel and why you feel. That's it's very important. I think people think like your brain is just it's just doing something magical. It's not. It's a physical piece of equipment, and it needs to be exercised. It needs to be honed. It needs to be taken care of. Sleep, and you need to have you need to give it rest. What would happen if you just started doing pull-ups and just didn't stop? How long would it be until your body just ceased working and you fell on the ground and you can't move? I don't know really what would happen, but think about your brain. If you're up all the time and you're cramming shit into your system, dude, even the average, person that's not an addict, I don't think thinks about that as much as they should. Like, really focusing on those day-to-day things, and it's just something I think I'm a little more tuned with right now because it is something that's so fresh and so new to me that I know that I need to really focus on it. But I think more people should probably get into that mentality of just checking themselves a little bit. Figure out why you feel the way you feel. Understand yourself. Know yourself. And, dude, your job will be so much easier in life. You'll just be you'll understand yourself. You'll be like, okay. And it helps with your everyday interactions when somebody pisses you off for some reason at work, maybe. They how they act, and they get to this point where they're like, okay, well, I know this person, when they say this or they act this way, it makes me feel this way. So let's not get upset when this person inevitably acts this way and attempts to make me feel this way, even if it's conscious or unconscious with them. But yeah, as long as if you're prepared for that, then half the battle's already won. You have a shield up, and boom, you can take it. You have your feet on the ground. So those are the kind of things that I think it helps with. For you normies out there, and then for us addicts, is something we need to. I think need to get from the beginning, which I think I did, which was cool. So, yeah. You just kind of, emotional intelligence starts there, checking in on yourself, and that's something that they learned from the beginning with just doing that checklist, making you check in every day. Maybe, and that's definitely by design. So, what am I saying? Of course it's by design. Do that on purpose, and it's great. Works. Yeah. So anyways, I guess switching topics off of that, one thing that was really cool about the rehab experience for me was the crazy amount of walks of life that were in there. Everybody. If you made up a person in your head right now, I could probably find someone from my rehab that fits that mold. Probably. Not even joking. A lot of characters and a lot of really, really sweet, good-hearted people who were just hurt and lost and didn't know how to cope, deal with whatever they were dealing with. So, yeah, there was a ton of different people in there, and we were all really in the same boat. And something happened with our group, I think our group specifically, because we had a couple of repeat customers that had come back, and they had said, I've been through this program before, but I've never had a group like this. I've never had this feeling. I actually feel inspired to stay sober and stay clean because of this group. I like to come here and share my positives because everybody's coming here and sharing their positives and working off each other. So there was something really magical that happened with our group there. And, being my first experience, of course, I'm like, oh, dude, super easy. Everyone's great. But, it really brought light to the fact that your scenario makes a huge difference, especially when you're in that vulnerable, broken state. If your situation is just chaotic and overwhelming and broken as it is, you're not going to be able to, fully accept what's being offered. But we had a super, super cohesive, respectful, and driven group. And we all fed off each other that way. It was so crazy. It was like being on a really good sporting team. I had a couple baseball teams I played on that were like that. Like, we were just a bunch of freaking idiots. If you picked any one of us out, all average players, but together we were savage. Separate average, together savage. But, it's like being on a cool team. A good team. Even got to the point where we would just kind of razz each other a little bit during the group. The counselors, would laugh. They wouldn't obviously partake if we'd be like, oh, dude, this guy with this shit again. We'd Ray, what are you doing, man? You talked about this yesterday. I thought we figured this out. That kind of razzing. So we got to that part where, and I don't know anybody's last name. All I know is that we talk to each other and we go stand in line and pee in cups together. It was great. It was for the drug test. Separate cups, but we stood in line together, waiting to go pee. Great. That's another thing too. Think about this. How many times have you ever stood with 4 or 5 of your friends in a line with an armed security guard and a nurse in this bathroom lab, which was a lab that had 2 bathrooms in there, and you would trade off. One would go in one would go in the other. They just give you a cup, you pee in it, zip it up, put it in the thing, you're on your way. We had to do this probably 2 or 3 times a week. So Kaiser has a lot of my urine. But that's another thing. Think about that. How many times have you ever done that with your friends? That's not a thing you do. It's a weird scenario. It's a weird, funny stuff comes up. So, we had a weird, cool group like that. So a lot of different walks of life there. I was on the younger side, 26 when I got there. And there was a couple people that were earlier 20s, 21, 22. There was actually one kid in there that was about 19. And, he was kind of a mess, that poor guy. But, so there was a lot of people in their 40s, mid to late 40s. A couple people in their early 30s, late 20s, like me. And then we had one guy who was 75. And what a guy. His name is Samuel. And he was 75 years old. He didn't develop a drinking problem until he turned 65, which was weird to hear, right? It's like, what? You made it that long and then came to rehab when you're 75? First of all, in a joking matter, I'm like, bro, you won. Drink. But obviously that's not the right answer. Very, very bad joke. But I mean, it's just weird. I mean, this initial thing, it's like, wow, man, you're old. What are you doing here? You live your life. How much time do you really have left? You know what I mean? But how much time he really had left was very dependent on how much he was drinking. So he wanted to live longer. He wanted to see his kids longer. He wanted to see his grandkids longer. So he decided to go to rehab at 75 years old. So shout out to Samuel, man. He's an older black gentleman from Florida. I mean, really grew up in some old school ways. I will say that. So it's 75 in 2019, and he was from Florida, not Miami, Florida. Also, that's all I'll say. But he was really kind of an anomaly. I never really would have suspected somebody like that in there. And he to be honest, to his credit, he was completely lost when he got there. He didn't know really what he was doing there, because he didn't really realize that what alcoholism was. He didn't realize like that it was a thing. He didn't know that AA was a thing. He would go over this stuff, and I remember one day he just completely broke, like 3 or 4 weeks into the program, and it was the first time he really broke. And he started crying and talking about like he's like, I've just wasted these last 10 years of my life, like on something I didn't even know that I was doing. I was just digging myself a deeper and deeper hole. And he said it was like the saddest moment. He said I felt like a complete failure in that moment, which was kind of crazy to hear from somebody of that age, So, yeah, Samuel, man, he is a character though. Every time when we do that check-in at the beginning, he'd go, my name's Samuel. Alcohol is my problem. And then he would look at us and go, I never did cocaine. I don't know why he would always tell us he never did cocaine, but decided to tell us he never did cocaine. Alcohol was my problem. I never did cocaine. Which, making a shirt about that. Sell it. It's so funny. All proceeds go to Samuel. Yeah, so he would talk about his story and say like his moment that he knew he was an alcoholic is because he fell out of a persimmon tree. 28-foot ladder. Didn't break any bones. He would say that every time as well. I didn't know I was an alcoholic till I fell off the persimmon tree. But I didn't break any bones. 28-foot ladder as well. So I imagine he was on the very top of it and went, whoa, wobbled off. But he didn't break any bones. So, I mean, the dude was hilarious. I mean, he'd come in. One day he came in and he just came in like this cast thing on his foot, but it was just for his toe. He had like a gnarly like blister thing. And so he couldn't really walk for like a couple of days. He was walking with a cane, and he came in. He came in, of course, the first day. He comes in with his cane, and we get to this class. It's like our exercise. They called it the movement class, really. And so it's a bunch of different things. Sometimes it was dancing. Sometimes we'd play instruments, and it was really fun. That was like my favorite class. Shout out to Regina. She is the best. And so she would have singing, dancing. We would do yoga sometimes. We would do different kind of stretches and focusing on. And really what that class was about was focusing on your body because we did a lot of emotional, mental things here, but we wanted to focus on the extraneous, the torso, the extremities. So getting in tune with that part of your body also. So and basically what that is to kind of, again, get yourself a baseline of how your body reacts when you do feel a certain way, or if you do, have that initial reaction. A lot of times you get a physical response as well, like the tightness in your chest, or the jitters, or like you just can't sit down, restlessness, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of physical effects that people don't really realize from anxiety, stress, and of course this is heightened through the addiction thing. But yeah, so that class was pretty much to just kind of get in tune with that and just have another weapon for yourself, give yourself more ammo in this struggle that you're going through. If you're really serious about it, you're going to do what you can to succeed. And I was, and I did. And you have to do that too. So anyways, Samuel came in to this movement class first day, and first movement class day, and comes in with the cane, and Regina's like, Samuel, what is going on with your foot? Apparently he had a big old blister popped, and so he had to wrap it up. And so we're like, okay, well, why don't you just sit down? Everybody else is standing up. Why don't you just sit down today, Samuel? I think I do that. So he sits down. Regina decides, all right, let's go ahead and play some instruments. And she starts handing out all these things, and they're like what you would think of, like probably like, I guess she was Native American, so she had a lot of things from that. To be fair, I don't know what a lot of the instruments were called, but there were just a lot of these percussion things that when you could hit different areas of the stick and it would make different noises. And she had shakers and some bongos and things like that. And so it was really cool because she would kind of set the initial rhythm, right? And then she would kind of point at somebody and like, you fill in with what you got. Ding, 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 ding. So, you start going, and everybody has their own different instruments. The bongo guy is like, boom, 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 boom. The guy, the shaker's like, so you have 20 people with 20 different instruments rocking out in this drum circle of fun. Really, it's just a drum circle of fun. And it's not cool to do that for the most part. I remember in Oakland they had that drum circle, which was awesome. It's not cool to do that for the most part because if somebody's outside of that, it's a very inclusive thing. If somebody's outside of the drum circle, listening to the drum circle, you're probably going to go insane. But if you're within the drum circle and you're playing in the drum circle, it's this crazy like mesh of kind of everyone just gets into that wave, and it's really, you feel that like that cohesion. You can really get that I don't know, when you just connect with people, you really feel that. And it was brought out through these instruments that we were playing, because we'd play for like 20 minutes straight, just fucking around, freestyling, going off of it. And then sometimes we'd stop in between. She'd be like, that was a really good one, wasn't it? Yeah, that fucking rocked. Can we go again? Yeah. We just start playing. And it was really just to, that class, that purpose was to kind of get out of yourself and just forget about your stupid problems and enjoy something positive. That was what I got from that, was you're doing a lot of hard work here at this place, a lot of emotional hard work. So this class is designed to help you release that energy through your physical body. Get rid of it, dance it out, sing it out, talk it out, walk it out, whatever. It helped, and it was awesome. So anyways, fucking Samuel, he's playing along and everything, and so Regina just starts kind of dancing in the circle. It was so funny, and she's like getting it down. She'd point at people, and then they would start dancing. So they'd stop playing, and so like she got around to everybody and got to Samuel, and he's like just smacking on the stick thing. He's like doom 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 doom. He's just going hard as fuck. And Regina points to him and goes, Samuel, Samuel, Samuel. And everybody in the class stops playing their instrument and starts screaming along with her, Samuel, Samuel, Samuel. And he's just Samuel, Samuel. It was so insanely, hilariously perfect. It was just one of those moments where joy happened, pure joy of just being silly, just being a silly goose, like Samuel, Samuel. It was fantastic, man. It was great. Like that class was awesome. It was showed us all like that we could just kind of, get outside of ourselves and do, just have fun and think about kind of the group, getting the feel of the group. That was like really what was, I guess, what we kind of did there was like we felt the group for one of the first times. And that it was important because so many of us were just thinking about ourselves for so long. Just all we were thinking about was not feeling the way we felt when we were sober. That's all we thought about. And so now you're going into a situation where you have to think about the group. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You have to respect the group's anonymity, their time, their efforts, and their issues. You're not the only person there, and you start to realize that. And you start to think outside yourself, which is really where we make a lot of our downfalls as addicts and as alcoholics and junkies, druggies, whatever you want to call us. But I think it's probably a good place to stop here. But yeah, I mean, I think rehab for me was just barely tapped into it this time. But rehab for me was really a lot of cool, awesome things happened for me. I was able to think about, I learned how to think about the group instead of just me. And then I really was able to learn how to, one, repair the damage that had been done to myself mentally and emotionally. And two, figure out a contingency plan going forward. Figure out how to take this mentality, repair the past, but also give yourself a filter for the future. So when things come around again to when you're feeling good, you drop out of that pink cloud and you're feeling good, but something happens, how are you going to react? Are you going to be as strong as you were when things were great? That's one thing I'm worried about. I got sober and things just totally skyrocketed. Everybody around me that I care about is doing wonderful. So knock on wood, but when something inevitably is going to happen, it's just, that's just life. Shit happens, right? So how am I going to deal with that when it does? And I don't know. The best I can do is arm myself for when that happens and remember the successes I've had along the way, and also remember the struggle I felt when I was in the depths of my addiction, and remember that kind of intensity for despair I had. Whereas now I have this intensity and this zest for life. I sometimes just catch myself smiling. I'll be thinking about something, memory. I'll just be smiling. That never used to happen. So, what's going to happen when shit hits the fan? am I going to wipe the shit, keep moving, or, what's going to happen? So, yeah. I don't know. I think it's a good place to stop for episode 2. Went pretty deep on this one. And there's also a truck outside. So, thanks everyone again for tuning in. This was episode 2 of Alcoholics Unanimous. I am Josh. I'm an alcoholic. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.